Big data. It's the now and also the future of yours and ours. Nowadays, what we need is usually just one click away with a mobile phone or computer. Data analysis is widely utilized in different industries. The collection, analysis, and application of big data has become an essential skill for the next generation. HKU's brand new big data-oriented programs. The programs are designed to keep up with global trends to nurture big data professionals. Nurturing talents with capabilities and passion for data science. To excel in the era of big data.
Big data can be used in different areas, such as analyzing road traffic situations, understanding the effects of vaccines and medicines for COVID-19 or other diseases.
The program is a combination of courses in data science, computing, mathematics, statistics, and law to equip students with solid foundation and practical skills. Graduates may pursue exciting career choices from the fastest growing job positions.
Big data and technology has brought upon new business models and transformed traditional businesses.
Graduates from the program will be well prepared with profound knowledge to perform big data analysis on consumer behavior and preference, quality control of products and services. They will also be able to formulate innovative business strategies and new development opportunities for different enterprises.
Digital technologies refers to the whole interface between humans and technology. This includes specific applications and tools that use machine learning, neural networks, and other forms of artificial intelligence, augmented and virtual reality, to expand our knowledge of humanity's subjects.
The program is the first of its kind in Asia. Due to the rapid development of the global economy and innovation technology, it is crucial to nurture talents with interdisciplinary knowledge in humanities and digital technologies, as well as transferable skills to be regional and global leaders.
Human data is extremely complex. We now have the technology to capture this data, and bioinformatics is about turning this data into useful information to improve lives.
The program cultivates problem-oriented thinking, allows students to understand and analyze biological big data in order to cater for different biomedical needs. It deepens our understanding of cancer and congenital disorders of unknown causes and helps devise specific disease treatment and prevention plans. This can lead to more and more medical breakthroughs. Big data is more important than ever as it advances trends and technology that open doors to a new approach to understanding the world and making decisions. Join HKU if you aspire to be an expert in big data.
know, with a set of slides to accompany it. We will then turn to 3 talks by my colleagues, by Professor Marco Wan, who will speak about the BA and LLB program, by Mr. Jackie Yeung, who will speak about the BBA Law and LLB program, and thirdly by Mr. Peter Chow, who will be speaking about the Bachelor of Social Science, Government and Laws and LLB program. That will be followed by a student sharing session. And then after that, we'll try to respond to your questions. So if you have questions, please send them via the chat facility, and we'll answer as many as we can in the time available to us before the session closes. You should note that there are further sessions that will follow later today at 1 o'clock. There is a session for the new Bachelor of Science, and LLB, a second session dealing with the Hong Kong U, Peking U dual degree program, and thirdly, another live chat with a student at 3:45. So those are noted on the website for your information. Let's get started. So we'll start, as I said, with a recording that I've already done on the general matters you need to know about. Firstly, accessing Hong Kong U, our programs, and the admission requirements to our programs.
Hi, and welcome to this introductory talk about admissions to the Faculty of Law in 2022. I hope that I can answer all the immediate questions you may have about the faculty and about our programs. To help you, I want to try to answer 3 questions. Firstly, why Hong Kong U? Why study law at Hong Kong U? Secondly, which program of the array of programs that we offer is best for you? And then thirdly, what do you need to know about the admissions process to help you successfully navigate your application to our programs? Turn to my first question. Why Hong Kong U? Well, we believe we offer a range of exceptional programs. First and foremost, our programs will equip you with knowledge, skills, ethical standards, creativity, and a sense of social responsibility. These will stand you in good stead no matter what you choose to do in your future. Of course, all our programs will also educate you in the law and legal system so that you're fully prepared for admission to the legal profession in Hong Kong, whether it's as a solicitor or a barrister or in some other capacity. 2 years ago, our faculty celebrated its 50th anniversary. We're very proud of that heritage. We want you to know that should you join us, you'll be joining a faculty which has a long history, has staff dedicated to ensuring the future of the legal profession and common law in Hong Kong, and whose graduates provide the bulk of the legal profession in Hong Kong. Our faculty has dedicated leaders who have the vigor and passion they need to take the faculty forward over the next 5 years during your time at Hong Kong U. Continuing commitment to excellence is written into our undergraduate prospectus, and you'll see a passage from that set out here. We seek not only to educate good lawyers, but also leaders who have a passion to serve, whatever path they may choose. Studying law at Hong Kong U offers you, we believe, many benefits compared to studying law overseas or elsewhere in Hong Kong. The first thing we have is a dedicated law faculty building. So we have excellent physical resources. And this slide shows you some of the modern facilities available to us to ensure that we can teach you with the very best technology and most recent facilities that are available for law teaching. We have a mooting chamber, we have a dedicated law library, we have academic conference centers, we have excellent lecture and conference and mooting facilities. We're located at one end of the campus, in a very beautiful part of the campus, adjacent to ponds, surrounded by gardens. So it's a very pleasant physical environment. We have excellent international standing. I've set out here our standing according to several recent international rankings which placed Hong Kong U Law School 21st in the world and made us the second best law faculty in Asia. There are an array of other benefits that you'll receive by studying at Hong Kong U rather than elsewhere. First, Hong Kong law. Most obviously, if you plan to be a lawyer in Hong Kong in the future, then you should immerse yourself and be well versed in Hong Kong law. And that is our priority, our dedicated mission. Secondly, entry to the legal profession. If you study at Hong Kong U, whichever program you study, you will be well prepared for entry to the professional certificate in laws, which is the gateway to the legal profession in Hong Kong, whether it's as a barrister or solicitor. Cost for Hong Kong residents. Studying at Hong Kong U will cost you a great deal less than studying law overseas. For some of you, perhaps that is a concern. Fourthly, the common law system. Hong Kong U students are educated in the common law, so you will become part of the common law family, which includes England, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, amongst others. But you will also study areas of law which are central to Hong Kong's role as an international financial and services centre. The Chinese law. Of course, you will also be exposed to mainland law, which lies at the heart of Hong Kong's future. Our LLB programs all include a compulsory introductory course on Chinese law, but you also can take several, if not many, elective courses in Chinese law, which will deepen and widen your understanding of Chinese law. Opportunities exist to take some of these courses in Shanghai. And lastly, trust and networking. Ultimately, law and the legal profession is built on trust amongst its practitioners towards each other. You will graduate from Hong Kong U with an extensive network of classmates and mentors who will know you and whom you will be able to trust and rely on in your future career as a lawyer. After graduating from Hong Kong U, you will enter a legal profession dominated by alumni of Hong Kong U, all of whom will support you and foster your development. These are just some of the members of that alumni network. Hong Kong U offers you continuity. Many of our professors began their legal studies in the Hong Kong U Faculty of Law. They then progressed to graduate studies in the very best overseas law schools. Some of them came back and now teach in our law faculty. Some of them have been law faculty dean. So continuity is an important factor in our 50 years at Heritage. If you are considering and interested in going overseas, perhaps you might want to first do your undergrad studies at Hong Kong U and then pursue graduate studies overseas. These are just some of the members of our staff who have taken that course, and so you can follow them if you choose. We try to offer you exposure to the very best amongst international and leading legal commentators. So we invite visitors, and we have many courses, sometimes short courses, sometimes half semester or full courses, which are taught by visiting professors from all around the world, and including in some cases from Hong Kong as well. So in this way, we try to ensure that you have exposure to the very best of current legal thinking and legal commentary. Our programs include a host of other features designed to offer you as a student the very best study opportunities. This includes, for example, our clinical legal education program, which offers you the chance to advise, to meet clients in real cases involving both Hong Kong citizens and also refugees. We also offer programs which give you a pathway to connection with other law faculties and their programs. For example, we have several Masters of Law degrees with overseas universities, including with UNSW, that's the University of New South Wales in Sydney, in Australia, with UCL in London, and with the National University of Singapore in Singapore, as well as with UBC in Vancouver in Canada. Hong Kong U Law also can offer you multiple pathways to exchange opportunities at a wide range of overseas institutions in diverse countries. And you'll see a list of some of our 200 exchange partners on this slide. We, of course, not only send students out for their studies, we also receive exchange students inwards, up to 100 a year. And they take courses along with you, and you'll have the opportunity, therefore, to share with them their knowledge, their understanding of the law in other parts of the world. Of course, exchange programs have been seriously affected by the pandemic, but we hope to be back in full operation by the time you progress in your studies to the point where you may be able to go on exchange. This brings me now to my second key question. What program may be best for you? Currently, we can offer you a choice of 7 different programs involving our LLB. The first is our basic LLB, 4 years with maximum flexibility and scope for specializations in minors. In addition to that, we offer 2 dedicated double LLB programs. You'll see they are programs with UCL in London and with Peking University in Peking in China. The first, the UCL, Hong Kong U UCL program, is a 4-year program with University College London. The other, with Peking U, is a 5-year program. Both offer you the opportunity to graduate with 2 degrees, including our LLB degree, so you will be well equipped to further your legal career in multiple legal jurisdictions. We have introductory videos about these programs on our faculty's admissions website, if you may be further interested in either of these. In addition to those 3 programs, we have 4 integrated double degree programs, including our new Bachelor of Science in LLB program. These are integrated 5-year programs, and they all enable you to pursue your interest in law and in a different discipline at the same time. You'll see they are firstly our BA and LLB, offered with the Faculty of Arts, for those of you that perhaps have an interest in literature and arts generally, and would like to pursue that while you're at university. Secondly, we have a program with the Hong Kong U Business School, offered by the Faculty of Business and Economics, the BBA Law and LLB. And this gives you possible majors in accounting or in business, as well as, of course, our LLB degree. Our third program is offered with the Faculty of Social Sciences. It's the Bachelor of Social Science, Government and Laws, and LLB. And so if perhaps your interest might be in your future working in the government and not directly in the legal profession, then this is a program perhaps you might be interested in. And then lastly, our new Bachelor of Science and LLB program. And this is offered for students who have studied science and wish to continue that study and that interest while at university. And I'll add a few more details about this in the next slide. Again, introductory videos on each of these programs are available on our faculty's admissions website. Since the Bachelor of Science and LLB program is new, this sets out some of the details about this new program for those that perhaps were not aware that it was now available. It's the first time, we believe, that students have been offered a joint program involving the study of both science and legal studies at the same time. We believe this serves a valuable need in the community, which includes lawyers able to provide assistance in patent work, where a science background is integral to understanding the nature of patent applications, and also, of course, providing lawyers who can service the technology sector and technology entrepreneurs. If you may be interested in this particular program, then consider attending the live admissions talk specifically on this program at 1 p.m. today, Saturday the 30th of October, via the webinar link that is provided on this slide. The Faculty of Law also offers a JD program, a Juris Doctor program, along the lines of US law schools. This is for those of you who have already completed a non-law degree and may now be considering returning to study law. This is a 2-year degree, you'll see, whereupon you'll be able to apply for admission to the PCLL. The faculty also, as I've said, offers the PCLL, which is the compulsory 1-year postgraduate professional certificate course, which is the gateway to entry to the legal profession in Hong Kong. So by studying at Hong Kong U, studying your LLB, whichever program you undertake at Hong Kong U, you'll be well prepared for entry to the PCLL program at Hong Kong U. Let me now turn to the third of my key questions, the application process. The slides that follow will be available. They'll be uploaded to the faculty's admissions website, so you can look at them again later for clarity on the details that are set out. First, a general question. What sort of students is Hong Kong U Law interested in? Well, whether you're applying via the JUPAS or the non-JUPAS route, the same broad criteria apply. We're looking for students with good communications, good intellectual and analytical skills. But more than this, we're looking for applicants with a sense of justice, who value integrity, and who understand that lawyers in Hong Kong have a deep and abiding responsibility for maintaining the legal profession and the rule of law in Hong Kong. Does this sound like you? Then perhaps you are our sort of applicant. But I also have to be realistic. Admission to all of our undergraduate programs is very competitive. The reality is that you will need to have very good academics to compete with other applicants. You'll need to be proficient in English, because language is the tool of lawyers and the law. And so we need to ensure you'll be able to cope with the demands of our English language-based curriculum. We interview non-JUPAS applicants and also some JUPAS applicants later in the admissions process, so we can meet with you and can verify your language ability. In interview, we also look for other qualities, your creativity, your confidence, your leadership skills, and that you are well motivated. Because at the end of the day, studying law is hard. You need to be well motivated to be able to find the energy, the vigor, the interest to pursue your legal studies. When you fill in an application form to study at Hong Kong U, you're given a number of choices as to your degree program. As a rule of thumb, if you wish to be considered for admission to our LLB or other double degree law programs, you will need to make our LLB degree or other LLB related program, if that's your priority, your first choice. So that's the rule of thumb if you want us to consider you for possible application. For JUPAS applicants, you'll be pleased to hear that we still try to admit 70% of our LLB cohort through the JUPAS route for DSE students. You have to, of course, achieve the necessary grades for eligibility to Hong Kong U, but the faculty admission standards to the LLB are considerably higher. And that's true both of the LLB degrees and the multiple integrated double degrees that we offer you. This table sets out briefly some of the key indicators as to the admission standards you will likely have to reach to be eligible for admission to the law faculty or to get an offer from the law faculty in the coming year. Just as in passing, please note that this is based on a Hong Kong U admission formula, which involves, for example, awarding a score of 8 to a Hong Kong DSE A double star. So it requires a little bit of translation and conversion. You can get the details of that process in the Faculty of Law's prospectus, which is available online. If you're a non-JUPAS applicant, then we fill up as best we can 30% of our intake, and you'll see roughly the standards we are likely to expect you to achieve to be admitted in the 2022 cohort. So if you're an A-level applicant, then in addition to English and Chinese, you'll need A star, 3 A's if you do 4 A-level subjects, or 2 A star and 1 A if you're taking only 3 A-level subjects. If you're studying IB, then we will normally expect 37 out of 42, so that's without counting, or 40 out of 45 if we include your bonus points. If you're applying on the strength of other qualifications, well, you need to look to our on-site information, on website information for the minimum requirements for admission to the faculty based on our recent admission processes. The next couple of slides deal with particular with admission to the Hong Kong U UCL dual degree in law. Some of you may be interested in this. This slide sets out some of the basic information about this program. It's a 4-year dual degree program. You'll spend 2 years at University College London and then 2 years at Hong Kong U. There's a quota of 10 to this program, 5 from each institution. You pay your tuition fees at each institution. So for 2 years, you'll have to pay fees at UCL. And that may, of course, mean a substantially higher fee cost than the subsequent 2 years at Hong Kong U. You will obtain an LLB from each institution, from the respective institutions. And by the time you have finished your 4 years, you will have completed all the courses you need to be eligible for admission to the PCLL at Hong Kong U. This slide sets out for you some of the key details of the application process. You'll see, of course, that both JUPAS and non-JUPAS applicants are eligible to apply. But please, you have to carefully follow the process that is set out. So take the time to know what is required, especially if you're a JUPAS applicant. This slide finally sets out the key dates for you. You'll see that the first round evaluation for non-JUPAS applicants will be 17th of November, so that's quite soon. So make sure you get your application in and you're clear if you wish to be considered for admission to this program, so that we can then process you accordingly. This program is generally popular. A short list of applicants will ordinarily, therefore, be invited for interview as part of the process. This is the second of our dual degree programs, a program with Peking University. This is a 5-year dual degree program. The first 2.5 years will be spent at Hong Kong U, and then you'll spend another 2.5 years at Peking University, or vice versa, if you begin in Beijing. Once again, places on this dual degree program is limited. The quota for this program is presently set at only 8 from each institution. You'll pay the fees of each institution, and again, you will obtain an LLB from each institution. So you'll be legally qualified in the 2 jurisdictions prior to, of course, completing your professional tests that may be required. Again, by the time you've completed, you'll have done all the courses you need to be eligible for the professional qualification program in Hong Kong, the PCLL. This slide sets out for you key details of the Peking U application process. As with the UCL program, please carefully follow the application system, especially if you are a JUPAS applicant. Make sure you identify the relevant dates and the materials you need to supply for your application. This slide sets out additional details about eligibility for the Hong Kong U PKU program and about the application process generally. You'll also see the key date is 31st of January 2022. So a little bit more time than for the UCL application. Because this is also a popular program, shortlisted applicants can expect to be invited for interview by a panel comprising professors from both Hong Kong U and Peking University. And finally, a reminder of key dates for the admissions process, beginning with today, the information day, and then you'll see the next important date is the 8th of December for submission of JUPAS application. But keep in mind, I've already said that for non-JUPAS applicants who may be interested in the UCL process, Hong Kong U UCL dual degree, 17th November is a date by which we already begin considering applications. For JUPAS applicants, you'll see we are likely to schedule some interviews in the May to June period, or possibly after you've reprioritized upon receipt of your results. And we don't ordinarily interview students earlier than that, whereas non-JUPAS students, we will conduct interviews across a series of rounds, and you'll see the time scale for that, the time frame for that is set out. This year has been another challenging year for the Faculty of Law and its students, as it has been for Hong Kong U generally and Hong Kong itself. We can't predict the future, but we at Hong Kong Law are confident we are back on track and expect to be able to fully resume all our excellent academic and extracurricular programs this coming academic year. It's our belief that if you are admitted to Hong Kong U Law in 2022, we will once again be able to offer you the very best legal and life education within an undergraduate university program. Thank you. We look forward to welcoming some of you in September 2022. Immediately following this will be a live session, and you'll be welcome to ask questions, and hopefully we'll be able to provide you with some answers.
All right, just as a continuation before I invite our other speakers on stage, a couple of matters that I need to deal with. Firstly, just to remind you, as I've already said, that there are further live talks today relating to our programs. At 1 o'clock, there will be a live chat session for the Bachelor of Science in LLB. And then at 2:30, a live chat session relating to the Peking U, Hong Kong U session, followed then by another student sharing. So you can hear from a student what life is actually like within the law school. A couple of other matters, as I've said. Firstly, this is just a reminder that from this year, Hong Kong U has decided to accept M1, M2 as full elective subjects, Category A subjects, for those of you who may be doing these subjects. There's a level of detail here which you can look at, but the general or simple point is that the law faculty will accept for admission to the LLB programs your M1 or M2 courses in addition to your compulsory maths course. So it will be treated as a Category A general elective. I'd also like to just remind you, for those of you that are doing DSE, applying via JUPAS, if you happen to be one of the students who falls within this very special category of case, we are the top 1% of Hong Kong DSE students completing the program, then Hong Kong U will be looking to offer you a scholarship to attract you and provide you with a bonus in coming to Hong Kong U. Right, so if you're interested in that, you think that might be you, you'd be wanting to know about that, look for further details on the Hong Kong U scholarship site. I also would like to just share briefly with you another slide relating to an event that will be upcoming on November the 13th, Saturday in 2 weeks, from 2 o'clock till 4 o'clock in this very room that I'm presently addressing you from, our moot court on the 2nd floor of the Cheng Yu Tung Tower. The language will be in English, and it will give you an opportunity to physically attend, experience the university environment, generally experience the Faculty of Law, and in particular this environment, and participate in the following activities. There will be a mini lecture by one of our teaching colleagues to give you an idea of what studying law will be like, what it is to experience a lecture on law. an opportunity for student sharing, again, so that you can hear from current students what studying law is like at Hong Kong U, a tour of our facilities so you can see for yourself some of the physical resources that I mentioned in my earlier recording, and a small group sharing by the Law Association. The Law Association is the students' association within the law faculty. Right, I think that's all the matters I need to attend to. I'd now like to turn to the first of our additional speakers and invite on stage Professor Marco Wan to give you some insight into the BA and LLB program. Professor Wan.
And a degree in arts, a BA in literary studies. And the program is premised on the idea that legal studies and literary studies have much to learn from one another because they share a common set of concerns. So for instance, they are both interested in interpretation. Lawyers interpret documents like constitutions. Literary critics interpret cultural artifacts like novels and poems. And one of the questions that we ask in the program is, can there be cross-fertilization here? Can the techniques of literary interpretation shed light on how legal interpretation can proceed? Both subjects are interested in narrative. So very often what you get in the courtroom is two different sets of narratives. So the prosecution presents one version of events, the defense presents another version of events, and there are two narratives at work in the courtroom. And lawyers would do well to be trained in the construction of narratives, in the study of the ways in which beginnings, endings, and everything in between is put together. And of course, some of the greatest writers have a background in law. So Charles Dickens, for example, was a court reporter, and his experience as a court reporter had a huge impact on the content and the form of some of his greatest writings, like the novel Bleak House. Henry Fielding, the 18th century novelist, was a magistrate, and Franz Kafka, who was writing at the beginning of the 20th century, was a student at law school, at university. And it's not an accident that law features in many great works of literature. And in this program, we explore how literary works can shed light on perennial jurisprudential questions. So this is a program in which students take courses in the Faculty of Law and the Faculty of Arts, and they will be trained as lawyers and literary critics. One distinctive feature of the program is that students can choose from a wide array of courses. So in addition to their courses in law, like property and contracts and torts, and their courses in literature, like romantic poetry or the modernist novel, they can take interdisciplinary courses in, depending on the year, law and visual art, law and film, law and language, law and literature, and law and history. In terms of admissions, we do not specify a specific background. So it's not necessary for students to have taken literature courses before. And we have admitted students in the past who come from a predominantly science background. What we are looking for are students who are interested in languages, people who are curious about how legal language works, people who are interested in literary language, and people who are eager to explore the similarities and differences between the two. It's also a program for people who are interested in reading, people who read widely in fiction, poetry, plays, legal cases, academic articles, and other kinds of writing. And finally, in terms of careers, our graduates pursue a whole variety of careers. So many of them go into the law. Some of them go on to do higher degrees in literary studies and cultural studies. And some of them decide to pursue careers in cognate areas like journalism. So really, there's no limit to what you can do with a degree in law and literary studies. And I would imagine that's the same with some of the other double degrees as well. So I'll keep this brief and turn over to my other colleagues, but I'd be happy to answer any questions people have. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. So if that may perhaps be you, then by all means, take a look at the information on our website, on the university website, and make sure you pay attention to the admission requirements and get your application in. All right, our second speaker, I'd like to invite Mr. Jackie Yeung, my colleague, to speak to you on perhaps the most popular of our double degree programs, the BBA Law and LLB. Popular in the sense also that unfortunately it is one of the more competitive programs. I mentioned that it potentially allows students to undertake an accounting major and qualify as basic accounting requirements, plus also the ability to pursue business studies. All right, if I could invite Jackie Yeung, he'll give you some thoughts about that particular program as well. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Jackson. So my name is Jackie Yeung, and I'm the Deputy Program Director of the BBA Law and LLB program here at HKU. Now, I'm given to understand that there is a separate admission session concerning the BBA Law and LLB program offered by the HKU Business School. So I'm not going to repeat what that particular seminar has already told you. Instead, I'm going to answer several frequently asked questions from our applicants concerning our LLB, BBA Law and LLB double degree program. Thank you. So the first question from our JUPAS applicants would be how the LLB program is different from our BBA and BBA Law and LLB program. Now, I would say in terms of the number of law courses which you are going to study, they are the same. So even if you enroll to our BBA Law and LLB program, you're going to study the same number of law courses. As you can see from this table here, for LLB students, you're going to take 4 years to complete 26 law courses along with other electives. And then if you are a student from the BBA Law and LLB program, you're going to take 5 years to complete both the business component and the law component of your program. So within our BBA Law and LLB curriculum, there are still 26 law courses available. Perhaps one highlighting difference between the LLB program and the BBA Law and LLB program would be the tuition fee concerning the final year of your studies. So if you are going to study the BBA Law and LLB program, you have to pay attention that the last year of your study is going to be self-finance mode. So tentatively, the arrangement or the tuition fee for the last year would be $85,000, subject to further confirmation of the university. And then the second question would be related to the majors available for the business component of our BBA Law and LLB program. So of course, if you're going to study the BBA Law and LLB program, eventually you're going to get the LLB degree. But for the BBA component, that is the business component of your course, there are several possible options available for all students. So it's possible for you to choose the professional accounting major alongside with entrepreneurship, design and innovation, finance, human resources management, information system and analytics, as well as marketing. So if you're interested in knowing what electives will be included in each of these majors, you can visit the website of the HK Business School. So within the program regulations, you'll be able to see what electives are included in each of the majors offered here. And then the third question concerns the disciplinary electives offered by our law faculty. So previously we received a question from a JUPAS applicant saying that, well, if I'm going to study the BBA Law and LLB program, does it mean that when it comes to the selection of law electives in the law faculty, I'll be bound to choose those subjects related to commercial law, corporate law, and financial law, for example? The answer is no, right? So here we have different law, well, regardless of whether you are going to study the professional accounting stream or other business streams, you are going to do the same number of law courses, as you can see here. The only difference would be perhaps the number of free electives available. So by saying that free electives, it refers to those electives which are offered by faculties other than the business faculty or the law faculties. So for example, even if you're going to study the BBA law program, you may be interested in studying psychology, right? So if you want to study the Introduction to Psychology program, you may treat that as a free elective, right? So this table will show you that depending on your choice as to the business component or as your major, chances are you may not be able to choose some free electives. So that may be a factor that you want to take into account when deciding which business major you're going to choose after entering into our BBA Law and LLB program, right? So as you can see, if you're going to do the business, if you're going to do the professional core in accounting majors, because of the requirements set out by the professional bodies, chances are you're not going to have any free electives available. So you'll be bound to do a lot of disciplinary electives offered by the HK Business School as well as the law faculties. But if you're going to do a business major in other areas, as you see here, you still have 5 free electives. So if you're interested in other subjects like sociology or psychology, you may make use of these free electives available and to study some introductory courses in those areas. And then we also have a question concerning the exchange opportunities. So some students would ask whether, well, if I'm already enrolled in a double degree program, does it mean that I'll have no chance to participate in the exchange programs offered by HKU? The answer is no. So even if you have enrolled in our double degree program, it's still possible for you to participate in various exchange programs offered by our university. So generally speaking, we have programs offered at the university level as well as at the faculty level. So if you're interested in knowing more about the details of each of the exchange programs offered at different levels, you may scan the QR code here, and then that would lead you to the link of the university, providing you with further details of these exchange programs. Okay, going to the fifth question concerning the disciplinary electives offered by our law faculty. Again, we had students in the past asking whether, as business students, as BBA law student, you are bound to choose law electives related to corporate, commercial law, or financial law. The answer is no. So, if you have a look at the link here provided by the QR code, you will see a full list of disciplinary electives offered by the law faculty. And apart from those, what we call compulsory or core electives, which you have to complete, there are other disciplinary electives which you can choose. And regardless of whether you are a BBA law student, government law student, or an LB student, you are going to choose the electives regardless of your program. So even if you are a BBA law student, but for example, if you're so interested in human rights related courses, you're still eligible to choose those electives as long as they are provided by our university at the material time. And then the last question is about careers. So as by the time you apply this program, you may be thinking that, well, let's say if I'm going to do the BBA Law and LB program, does it mean that I'll have to be a corporate lawyer? Are there any options other than being a corporate lawyer? Well, I would say yes. By studying our program, of course, you may eventually become a corporate lawyer, provided that you have fulfilled all the requirements, let's say the PCRL requirements. after graduating from our program, right? But still, there are some other career options available. For example, we do have graduates becoming solicitors or barristers in other areas of practice, right? And it's not uncommon for our BBA law and LB graduate to become, let's say, graduate analysts of different financial institutions. In the past, we also have different graduates eventually entering the government as legal officers, administrative officers, or even law enforcement officers of different discipline services, right? We also have founders. We also have graduates becoming founders of different startup entities. And just as what Mr. Jackson said, we also had some graduates eventually becoming academics in various academic institutions. Right, so these are the frequently asked questions concerning the BBA law and LB program. So if you have any further questions, I'll see if I can answer those questions live when I step back to the, when I step down, and then I'll try to answer your questions through the Zoom session. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. As he indicated, there's, I think, another session by the Faculty of Business and Economics itself on the BBA law program, so you may be able to get additional information from that. Thirdly, I'd like to invite up my colleague, Professor Peter Chow, to speak about the Bachelor of Social Science Government and Laws program and the LLB program, double degree program. So Peter, if you could come up and give some thoughts to the students about this program. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Michael. Good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you here. Well, unfortunately, we can only see you online, but I hope that, well, the next time we'll see you live at this university. So my name is Peter Chow, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Government and Laws Double Degree Program. And I am just going to say a few words to introduce the program. And if you have any questions about the program, of course, you are to ask during the Zoom section. I'll be stay during the Q&A. I'll be happy to answer the questions relating to this program. Thank you so much. So the Government Laws Double Degree Program is a 5-year program. It is 1 year longer than the regular LLB program. But upon graduation, like you will have 2 degrees instead of one in Bachelor of Social Sciences and the other Bachelor of Laws. So I do think that's a pretty good deal. So you do 1 more year and you get an extra degree. So let me say, and of course, when you are doing this degree, you'll be taking courses in both departments, in the Department of Law and in the Department of Politics. So let me say a few words about the courses that you'll be taking, starting with the courses in the Politics Department. So I understand that the political environment in Hong Kong is, how should I put it, quite exciting at this moment. Some of you may want to do courses in Hong Kong politics. And of course, we have such courses on offer in the Department of Politics. But I also want to say that our students do not necessarily do much on Hong Kong politics because there are 4 different streams of study in the Department of Politics. First of all, students can do comparative politics, and some of them would want to do political theory to focus on more philosophical or theoretical questions relating to the study of politics. And some students would want to do international relations, and some others would want to do public administration. So the upshot is that there's a wide range of courses that you can do as a politics student. So if you want to do more on Hong Kong politics, that's fine. But if you want to do more on other issues, there will be a lot of those options here as well. As for law courses, there are some compulsory courses that you have to do in order to graduate. And there are some courses that you have to do in order to be able to do the PCLL, which is necessary for you to qualify to practice a lawyer in Hong Kong. But there are also a lot of you still have a lot of electives. So besides doing those, so as to speak, of electives on Chinese law, on jurisprudence, on human rights law, on international law, etc. So I think the same point. So Jackie just mentioned that as a BBA law student, you for the law electives, you do not have to do courses that are related to the business side. So you can do electives that are not about commercial law, etc. So similarly, so even if you are doing a government law degree, for the law electives, you are free to, you can do those that have a more, so to speak, political element. You can focus on electives on public law, but you can also choose courses that are on commercial law, international law, etc. as your free electives. So you do have a great deal of flexibility in deciding what to study for your law electives. So let me say a few words about the career options. I think a substantial portion of our graduates, they go on to practice as lawyers. Well, that's unsurprising. But on the other hand, there are also a lot of students that decide that practicing is not the calling for them. And many of them decided to pursue a career in the government or NGO or banks. Yeah, so really, like I think our graduates, they go on and excel in many different kinds of career. And I do think that are quite unsurprising because politics, the study of politics and law is really about studying human conflict and cooperation and how to regulate them. And I do think that knowledge and skills about these matters will serve our graduates well, no matter what career they might want to pursue in the future. Yeah. So well, for details about, well, I do want to say a few things about exchange before I end this talk. So some of you may want to go on exchange as a student here, and I do think that is a good idea. So as a double degree student here, you have you can apply for the exchange programs both in the law department and in the Faculty of Social Sciences. So in a sense, you will have more options when you decide more options as to where to go to if you want to go on exchange. So that is, I think, another good thing about doing a double degree program. Okay, so I'll be staying here during the Q&A section. So it's good to talk to all of you. Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can just ask during the Q&A section or just send me an email. I'll be very happy to answer. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Right, thank you, Peter. Now, just to round out the introductory materials and the talks, we have a short student sharing video by an LLB student from 2018, PCLL student subsequently, Jason Fee.
Hi, I'm Jason. After graduating from the LLB at Hong Kong U, I then read the BCL, which is a postgraduate law degree at Oxford. Now I'm doing the PCLL back at Hong Kong U before commencing pupillage, as I'll be joining the Hong Kong Bar. I believe that reading law gives you the chance not only to sharpen your mind, but also to explore the many aspects of human life as we study how law intertwines with our everyday life. As law students, you acquire skills, not just knowledge. So if you want to develop both your intellectual thinking and practical problem solving, then law would be for you. I decided to study law in Hong Kong because I wanted to practice in Hong Kong. It's true that Hong Kong is a common law jurisdiction, so some of the underlying legal principles may be similar, even if you study in another common law jurisdiction, say the UK. But I think it's still good to know Hong Kong law direct, not to mention you also get to know friends and practitioners in Hong Kong. In the LLB, we will study core law subjects like legal system, contract, torts, etc. Further, we will get to pick electives that interest us. One of my favorites was the guided research course, where we could really dive deep into a novel legal issue and write on it. I'm so grateful to my professor for her guidance along the way. I spent my third year as a visiting student at Oxford. I'm so grateful that while at Hong Kong U, I could also go to a top UK law school to study as a full-time student, and also to learn from professors who probably wrote our textbooks. Outside the classroom, I also played in our college orchestra and the tennis club, and joined many thrilling activities. So overall, it's been truly rewarding, and it really enriched my LLB experience. Over the years, I've been research assistant to my professors. In particular, I was involved in the Special Needs Trust program led by Professor Lucina Ho and Associate Professor Rebecca Lee. The objective was to provide reliable and affordable trust services to special needs families. We conducted relevant research and conducted seminars at NGOs to reach out to the community and to help raise awareness towards the trust. Through this exercise, I came to realize that my professor's initiative could really drive meaningful changes in existing law. Another thing I'd like to mention is the Hong Kong U Orchestra. It's a place where I've made many friends from various backgrounds and faculties. Personally, after doing the PCLL, I would then join the commercial bar and become a barrister. Some of my friends will also become solicitors or even go to business or the academia. So I'd say, don't worry, even if you're not sure whether you want to be a lawyer or not. You can always try out different options by doing mini pupillage at barristers' chambers or internships in law firms during your holiday. And a law degree opens many doors for students in terms of career choice. As a law student, you will probably have to read a great deal, especially from primary sources like cases. But remember, there's also a lot of fun in it. As long as you manage your time well, I'm sure it'll pay off. So good luck, and hope to see you at Hong Kong U.
All right, thank you, Jason. It's always great to hear from our students, to hear what they actually think about the programs. And generally, they enjoy what they've done. They see the value of it, despite the possibility of also wanting to access overseas education in some way, as Jason chose to do. All right, so now we're turning to the Q&A session. Many of you have already submitted questions online. Some of those questions have been answered already online as best we can, sometimes perhaps requesting clarification. but I'll go through the ones that remain unanswered and try to give you some sort of answer. In some instances, I have to be a little bit generalist, and others I would suggest perhaps that you look to other sources of information about the material or the question you've asked. So I've got a number of questions first about the percentage of Hong Kong U LLB graduates in the Hong Kong U PCLL. So this recognizes that, of course, Hong Kong U is not the only university offering the PCLL, so do others. Second question, are the statistics of the percentage of graduates studying PCLL? Question which I think it's best for me to leave to the PCLL to answer that question for your information. But I would say this obvious matter, that students who study at Hong Kong U, study law, whether the LLB or the double degree programs, generally progress quite happily, quite satisfactorily into the PCLL program. There are a few students who are here and there who perhaps for whatever reason encountered some difficulties in their LLB studies, who might at the end of the day not achieve the standard that is required for admission to the PCLL. But most of our students find their way into the PCLL program at Hong Kong U. There are different classes of PCLL study, and that may make a difference as to who gets those. But in general, our students will successfully progress to the PCLL. Question about whether in the LLB program we'll provide both civil law and common law studies. Right? Obviously, we are based on the common law, and we will engage you in study of the common law. I've mentioned that you do have a compulsory course on Chinese law, which is a civil law system, and you can also study other Chinese law subjects for that purpose. You can study also, of course, international and comparative law subjects, which are set apart from the civil law or criminal law or common law systems as well. But there's another way you can do this, and that's if you go on exchange, which is one of the options we offer for most of our students. You can look to go to a university in a civil law jurisdiction and try to pursue studies in that jurisdiction itself. So if you go to some of the European universities, which either the Hong Kong U or the law faculty has exchange agreements with, then you have every opportunity to spend a semester or perhaps even a year studying civil law subjects if that is your choice. Of course, if you go to the UK university, you often can also study at least some civil law subjects during that course of study, including perhaps generally European law, amongst others. So that is a possibility if that's an interest of yours. Question about whether a student who's described as very good at Chinese, so perhaps hopes to get a 5 double star or in the HKDSC, is suitable to study law, even if perhaps their English is not as strong as that. And I suppose all I can say in response is give it a shot, all right, in this sense. Make an application. Obviously, English is a subject that we prioritize, not in its own sake, but because English is the language with which we teach. English is the language of the majority of our materials. And it's not just ordinary English, it's legal English. So it's very sophisticated, very complex, and the ability to understand what's written, the nuances of meaning associated with what's written, how to understand and interpret what's written is imperative to your success in your studies at law at Hong Kong U. So perhaps a student like yourself may struggle for a bit, may take more time to comprehend the materials than other students in your class. But if you have got good aptitude, and I hope that's evident by your DSE scores in the first place, then by all means, I think you can cope ultimately in the study of law, as long as you don't mind perhaps in your first year some of your written work perhaps being not as highly judged and graded as some of your classmates might be until you get fully up to speed. The reality for most law students is, I suppose, their biggest complaint is there's far too much to read. All right, so they have to learn how to engage in reading legal materials in an efficient manner. The better your ability in English, the greater will be your efficiency. So it is a very real issue you need to keep in mind, but certainly don't discount yourself. A number of questions about the Peking U dual degree program with Hong Kong U, about conditional offers being made, about ability to work in both jurisdictions after success. I would rather perhaps leave those to the session later today. I've mentioned at 2:30 when there is a live chat session. So you can get direct answers from the teachers who are engaged in teaching that on that program and administering that program, and they can give you better insight into the process they adopt and the outcomes of that dual degree program. Similarly, a question about UCL and Hong Kong U double degree. Will conditional offers be made? And yes, the answer is yes, of course. These are students who must, however, identify themselves as being interested in the UCL program from an early stage in their application. They also do so by way of a link on our website, and we will, students, as I mentioned, admissions process and make offers to them, conditional offers, I should say, to them as soon as we can. So yes, conditional offers will be made and relatively early often for such students. If I apply for programs in Hong Kong Youth Law Faculty, a question asked, will my interview be different from other applicants? And there are a number of other interview-related questions about JUPAS interviews, about the differences between Hong Kong U interviews and law faculty interviews. So let me try to answer in a more general way. Firstly, if you apply to Hong Kong U as a non-JUPAS applicant, we are likely, if we identify you as someone of interest to us as a possible student we would like to make an offer to, we will almost certainly shortlist you for an interview and do so relatively early. So we would try to do that, probably continuing the process of engaging Zoom to do that, and be able to make a conditional offer to you if you're the sort of student that we clearly consider deserves an offer, qualifies for an offer, a conditional offer, by the end of January and early February. There is a process, of course, where we can later consider more applicants as their details become available, or as we get an indication of what has happened to our early conditional offers. Some choose to go elsewhere from the beginning. If you're a JUPAS applicant, then in general, our practice in the past in the law faculty has not been to interview such students. But in order to try to ensure that students who perhaps over the course of the last 2 years have not had a full opportunity to demonstrate how good they are as a student because of difficulties with teaching and learning, we have, over the course of the past year, offered interviews to students after DSE results are available on the basis that students reprioritize and place the Hong Kong U LLB program first in their priorities. And then we will try to offer you an interview and ensure that if for any reason you perhaps have not quite met the result you expected, we can possibly still make you an offer. So we try to pick up students in that case who might not have achieved the standards they expected or predicted to get. If you generally have achieved the conditional offer standards that we set, then you will likely not need to be interviewed. We're happy to admit you on the basis. Our long experience with the DSE enables us to know that students who achieve the standards we normally expect and set for students by way of a conditional offer will almost certainly be capable of coping and be suitable for study within the law faculty, if that remains their wish. So we will be offering students, JUPAS applicants, interviews, but only probably later in the process, at a point when we're trying to ensure that students have every opportunity to enter the law faculty, even if perhaps they might have fallen slightly short of what they needed initially to get a conditional offer or to satisfy their conditional offer. In terms of the nature of our interviews, all the law faculty-based interviews, and we conduct interviews for applicants to the LLB and for the BA LLB, and we participate in some instances in interviews in the other faculty applications. For the LLB and the BA LLB applicants, our interviews are conducted in small groups, generally on Zoom, as I said, and what we do is give you some reading material, which is law-based, or possibly for the BA and LLB, law-based and literature-based, for example, a short poem to read, and then invite you to comment on it in the company of the other applicants who are in the same Zoom group session. So a small group of perhaps 3-4 students, and we just listen to what you say, how you respond, how you think about the issues that have been raised by the panelists interviewing you, or possibly by other students. And based on that, I drew an assessment, as I've indicated earlier, about whether we believe you are the sort of student who, in addition to your academic standards, really would fit into the law faculty. Most of the panelists have long experience of the sort of students that do well, and therefore we can recognize very quickly students who might perhaps find some difficulties with the law faculty, and we try to give them every opportunity in the interviews to show us that they can be someone we should be making an offer to, a conditional offer to. So that's the nature of the interview process as we conduct it. It's only a half-hour long interview process for most. It's never long enough, but it's very rewarding from our point of view to at least meet some of you on Zoom and be able to flesh out what you've said about yourselves. So there is a question also about personal statements. We do read the personal statements for the purposes of conducting interviews, more generally for the purposes of shortlisting students for interview in the first place, based on what you say about yourself, what motivates you to want to study law, in those sorts of matters, what you illustrate about yourself and your understanding of law and the legal process. But you shouldn't think that we are only going to admit students and make conditional offers to students who have already immersed themselves in the study of law. All right, we're perfectly happy and content to admit students who have been interested in law but have never perhaps actually engaged with it as such, if we think they've got the sort of mind that will suit law, shows the curiosity, the creativity, the understanding of language that they can use then to build their understanding of law as they go through the study of law in the law school. All right, so that answers a number of the questions about interviews in that sense. Programs why interview be different, and so on. Is there conditional offers for JUPAS applicants attending interviews? Well, just to consolidate, as I've said, normally we look at DSE applicants in the JUPAS process and make conditional offers based on your expected or prepare conditional offers based on, make them based on your actual results. But at that point, if necessary, we now also will try to interview students and with a view to making additional conditional offers to students following your actual results. What is the average, a question about the JUPAS score for students joining the PKU Hong Kong U program? Again, please attend the session later today so you can ask the panelists there who are directly involved with that program about the nature of admission standards for that program. When will the application results be returned? We try to return initial conditional offers, as I've indicated, in late January, early February. We know that you need to get offers, that some of you will be considering conditional offers from other jurisdictions, other universities, and you need to know that Hong Kong U is also interested in you. So we try to make as many conditional offers as we can, as early in the piece as we can, and that's about the earliest, late January, February in 2022. And then there is a process after that of making additional offers as and when we can, based on additional interviews and so on. What is considered a competitive IB score as opposed to just the minimum requirement? So the minimum requirement, I said, is likely to be 37, that we're most unlikely to admit a student who has IB score less than 37, and that's 37 out of 42. So that's excluding the bonus points in that sense. So 37 out of it's the 6 subjects you've studied. To be competitive, to relatively ensure you're going to get a conditional offer, you should be expected to get 39 points out of 42, or possibly 42 out of 45, if that's an alternative, including the bonus points. With this added requirement that in general you have to have achieved a 6 in at least in all 6 subjects as an additional basis for getting a conditional offer. Now, it doesn't follow that if at the end of the day you don't achieve a 6 in all subjects, where perhaps that is predicted, you will not be able to take up your conditional offer, because we are certainly willing to consider reviewing or review the matter and reconsider whether a student who may have fallen short in one subject, for example, should nonetheless be continued to make a conditional offer. And I do that each year as admissions tutor, and I try to ensure that students are clearly of very good quality, but may, for whatever reason, have a pitfall, a shortfall, a glitch in some particular subject are not automatically prejudiced by that. Questions about the registration link for the upcoming Hong Kong U Law event. I mentioned that that's on November the 13th. Details about that link will be uploaded, I think, to the university's admissions site, to the one-stop shop, and at a later stage will also be uploaded to the law faculty website itself, admissions website. Question about JUPAS applicants, will I have a disadvantage if I was not invited to have the interview? Just in response, as I said, obviously, if you are a very good JUPAS applicant, predicted high scores, then we will likely have made you a conditional offer without any interview at all. So in fact, that situation, you're not prejudiced at all. So interviews are more likely to be offered only for students who ultimately fall short in the actual results. Conditional offers, of course, I should say, are made once you get your results for the DSE in that sense. All right, a question about SAT scores. I've had this checked. I believe the current requirements for SAT score applicants is as follows. Sorry if I can find this. Find this on my own. The score of 1500 is what you mentioned. In the redesigned SAT reasoning test, and a score of 666 for the 3 reading, analysis, and writing components in the essay, and a score of 700 in each of the 3 SAT subjects. So that's the best I can give you by way of an answer at this stage. So questions about interviews after DSE results, I think I've answered that. Any support for law internships during the course? We do offer, firstly, as I mentioned in the recording, a clinical legal education program which students can take and participate in real life lawyering for a start. In terms of internships, it's something we're working on within the faculty to try to provide more opportunities for placing students into internships, but most students do this for themselves. Most students begin sending out letters relatively early in their law studies to prospective employers or barristers or solicitors firms where they might like to undertake an internship, and they participate in that way. And it's a very established procedure that the law firms and barristers' chambers and other employers are used to. And many law students will be guided in the process by their senior students. In fact, the reality is many law students' progress is guided more by senior students who've been there, done that, know what you need to do, than perhaps always by their lecturers and teachers themselves. So that's a very valuable part of the law school experience. You can expect to receive assistance and guidance from your senior students in that sense. But law internships is something the law faculty is engaged in trying to facilitate more fully, and going forward that may come to be the case as you progress through law school over the course of the next 4 years or 5 years, whatever program you're in. Questions about placing, whether you need to place yourself first priority, I think, in the Band-A, and I think the answer is generally yes, if you're a non-JUPAS applicant, Band-A if you're a JUPAS applicant, and we acknowledge and recognize, for example, that in terms of our assessment of applications to LLB, that LLB might only be your second or perhaps even your third choice, that your first choice or perhaps even your first and second choices might be one of our double degree programs, so that you might apply for the BBA Law and LLB program first, or the Government and Laws and LLB program first, or the BA and LLB, and in the event that that's unsuccessful, wish to be considered for the LLB. So for the JUPAS applicants, generally, because we take a larger pool of those students, Band-A is likely to be sufficient. For non-JUPAS applicants to be considered for an early round interview and shortlisting for interview, and then an early round conditional offer, you likely need to place us, almost certainly need to place us first in your list. I mentioned that as the rule of thumb. It's a pretty heavy rule of thumb for non-JUPAS applicants. If the lower boundary stated for the degree in non-JUPAS A star, 3A for A levels. What are the grades of the typical successful applicants? I suggest you look at the information that is available to try to fill this out in the prospectus for the coming year, which I believe will also be uploaded, if it's not already done, to the one-stop shop on the admissions page today for further details about that. I think the university itself also issues information generally about average scores that students have achieved, and that can be accessed by you to try to answer that question for you. A question, a pure administrative question: where can I refer if my examination has been cancelled? Do we have an answer to that? The answer is get in touch with the Hong Kong U Central Admissions Office, should that be a problem. Obviously something that does occur, has occurred over the course of the last year or two, or been considered, and that's a potential problem. How many places approximately would be offered to non-JUPAS students? Across the range of the 4 programs, 5 programs now, including the Bachelor of Science and LLB, so the LLB and the 4 dual degree programs, we all try to broadly maintain that 70%, 30% ratio for JUPAS, non-JUPAS students. There is a variability from year to year, depending on the number of applicants that apply to each program and the standards that they have been able to achieve. But that's the rule of thumb we work to. So you look at the number of applicants to each program based on the figures available, and that gives you an indication of the rough breakdown between the various matters. Will one be discriminated if only 6 subjects are taken DSE compared to those taking 7 or 8? Not as such, but insofar as the admission requirements or the basis of admission will be assessed for DSE applicants based on your best 6, so English, Chinese, and your best 4 subjects. Well then, if you've got more subjects, then you have perhaps a possibility of having done better in that range of subjects. On the other hand, if you only do 6, you're stuck with whatever results you get. But as I've said, if for some reason your results fall short of what you had hoped to achieve, we will now be looking at those carefully and seeing if we can identify students who we believe should then be invited to interview and may possibly still be made an offer once the results are actually available, in addition to those who get their results based on the JUPAS processing of their results and our formulas set for you. So DSE results come out, offers will be made to those who have achieved what we have set for the standards. Those who perhaps have fallen short, we will try to access your records and see if we can include you in a pool of applicants to interview at that point. So you are obviously slightly prejudiced if you are only doing 6 subjects, in the sense you have to stick with the results you've got. But we try to accommodate that and give you an opportunity to show that you are as good a student as originally was perhaps predicted to be. If I'm not expecting an interview before the release of DSE results, must I place the program in Band A, or is it okay to place it in Band A after release of results? If you have not received an offer after results, our advice will be that you will have to reprioritize the LLB, if that's the program you're applying to first choice. And those are the applicants who we would be considering looking to for interviewing at that stage, despite not having been able to receive an offer under the system based on your results as such. So we will notify you about that. We'll put information on our website later in the year to tell you what you exactly have to do, but that's the process we adopted this year, that you after results can reprioritize. If you wish to be considered for LLB and haven't got an offer as such, then you will need to place it first priority for the LLB. For the other subject, for the other dual degree programs, you have to look to their own specific indications about what they will require. Are Category C subjects recognized as one of the elective subjects? The answer is no, not for the admission to the law faculty. Generally, we only accept Category A subjects, though, as I've said, M1 and M2 are now regarded as a Category A subject for those of you that are doing M1 and M2. Is there only one personal statement, the JUPAS personal statement, that JUPAS LLB applicants have to hand in? are additional ones submitted to the law faculty. Not as such. So occasionally we find ourselves in an interview with a student, perhaps a JUPAS applicant. In that interview process I've indicated we now undertake, where the student is spoken glowingly and enthusiastically about their love for and wonder about economics, because it turned out that was their original first choice, and they wrote a personal statement to that effect. So we don't necessarily hold that against you. We understand that your interests can change. We will still have read that and have asked ourselves whether in the interview, you have nonetheless demonstrated to us the sorts of characteristics, personality traits, motivations, and aptitudes that would make you entirely suitable as a law student, even though perhaps there's something that led you to write more enthusiastically about another subject at an earlier stage. Will study be online or offline for the 22-23 academic year? We've only just welcomed students back. We're all, I think, enjoying being primarily online again, engaging with students, because teaching is it's not simply a one-way we impart knowledge. Many of us value very much what our students have to say to us, so it's wonderful to have the students back, questioning us, making us think about what we are presenting to them, and so on. My hope is that going forward that will remain the case, but I am as no better in predicting the future perhaps than you would be in understanding what may happen in the course of the coming year. We are hopeful that the pandemic will be under control, that vaccinations will have been sufficiently undertaken to be able to ensure we can remain online, but there's an unpredictability going forward, which I'm not in any position to say. So I don't think the university or the law faculty can obviously give you any guarantee about this, but if it is at all possible, we fully expect to be offline, in face before you again. If I get a high mark in JUPAS, do I directly get an offer without an interview? And the answer to repeat is yes. So when your DSE results come out, if we have been placed on our rankings so that you are a student who to whom an offer will be made, an offer will be made. So the interview is really to try to ensure that students who have fallen slightly short of what was expected have every opportunity to nonetheless demonstrate, display themselves, show themselves off to us in the flesh, so far as if we conduct a Zoom interview is concerned, or in person if we conduct in-person interviews. And we can be satisfied that you are the sort of student with the qualities and aptitudes that we need for our law students. If I am not able to apply for the double degree courses or the UCL, will I still have a possibility to get an LLB program? To reiterate, yes, this is something we understand is a clear possibility. Students may seek to be admitted to one of the double degree programs, be it at Hong Kong U or with our partner UCL as a first choice. But those are programs with a limited quota of students, a limited cohort. They are very competitive, as I've mentioned, and so not everybody interested in that program can get in. So as a JUPAS applicant, if you have placed us in Band A, we will still clearly consider you and hopefully be able to make you an offer. If you're a non-JUPAS applicant for those programs, that will be more difficult. You'll likely still need to have placed the LLB first in your priority to be considered by us for the LLB in the event you fail with the double degree program. On the other hand, I think it's the case you apply formally, because of the nature of the program, I think I'm correct, you apply formally to us as an LLB applicant, don't you? So in that sense, you're actually applying to us as an LLB applicant, and then in your application process, you indicate you're interested in being considered for the UCL LLB program, and there is additional website or link you go to make your online application. So in that sense, there is no separate degree program that you make if you're applying to the UCL LLB as such. So you can put LLB first, but you must indicate early on in the process you're interested in the UCL LLB program for consideration in that sense. So if you fail to get into the UCL LLB or the LLB Hong Kong U UCL, sorry, it's still the case we will clearly be considering you for the LLB program at Hong Kong U, because that's all you've actually applied for in the Hong Kong U program. I want to ask, someone says about the UCL Hong Kong U program, after application, how long does it take to receive offers? And under the pandemic, are we able to study in the UK in the first 2 years? In terms of receiving an offer, well, firstly, it's a conditional offer based on whatever your predicted results are. If you're a non-JUPAS applicant, if it's a DSE applicant, when will the offers be made? Which is when? Yeah, so that's what I thought. Non-JUPAS applicants, I've indicated, we will identify early on applicants whose predicted scores that we consider may be suitable for that program, and they will be interviewed. A shortlisted interviews will be conducted likely in January, that period, even possibly late December, and then offers, or conditional offers, I should say, based on predicted results sent out late January, early February for those applicants. All right, JUPAS applicants, we really won't be able to make an offer to you until. So do we make conditional offers, just to clarify? We make conditional offers at that early stage based on, and you'll be interviewed at that early stage also. Right? But of course, there's a longer time frame potentially before we can confirm that with your actual DSE results. Right? So we are, as I've indicated earlier, we fully understand that particularly students who may be competitive for the Hong Kong UCL program, they will have very good academic results. They will probably be considered by a number of institutions. We need to get a conditional offer you as early as we can, so you're fully aware of that offer, that conditional offer, that possibility before you make your decisions. All right, so we try to do it as early as we can. JUPAS applicants asking if my predicted grades in English and Chinese are 5 or above, but I didn't perform well in other subjects. Is there a chance that I would be invited to the interview? I suppose yes and no is the correct answer. Yes, if you are close enough to the students that we think should still get an interview, that would be so. No, if your grades in the other subjects mean you fall too far short. So we have an internal threshold that we use to help us identify students who've fallen short of what we did expect, whom we will focus our interview process on. So we certainly do not interview every student, every JUPAS applicant who expressed an interest in LLB study as such. We have to limit the interviews that we conduct. And as I said, we have an internal threshold we set for ourselves. We use that to help identify a pool of students. I think this year we interviewed about 60, 80 students, was it? 60 to 80 students we interviewed in the post-DSE results. Something like 60 to 80 students we were able to offer an interview to, and of those, I think we made offers to nearly half of them at the end of the day. Not all of them accepted, they have other opportunities, but so it is a very valuable route through which students can now get in. What challenges do we meet and overcome during the progress in studying laws? What attributes do we have in learning laws? All right. I also saw a question a student wrote, do you think you have to be interested? Do I think law is interesting? I mean, I'm one of those law students who became a law student because I always wanted to be a law student. And that's true of many students. Somehow, at some point in your life, you're given reason to think that you would be a good lawyer and you develop an interest in the law school. Most usually because you're someone who likes to talk a lot. You like to argue with people and they say, my God, you're a lawyer. You're going to be a lawyer of some sort. But there are also other reasons why applicants are interested in law. For some, it may be family matters. They've experienced engagement with the law in a positive way, possibly sometimes in a negative way. They may have engaged in activities during school where they came to see that there were things that they felt happen within the community which only law can help address, lawyers can help address, and they're inflamed by that passion they often speak of for doing justice to help those who perhaps come from the more disadvantaged echelons of our society. So there are a variety of reasons that students perhaps offer for wanting to study law. At this point, I'm going to take a break and ask one of my colleagues to come and say, what do you think attributes that make a student a good student to study law? Apart from what I've indicated, you have to be willing to read a lot, write a lot, and work hard in that sense. But in terms of personal attributes, does anyone want to come up? Perhaps Marco, do you have some thoughts about what you think makes a good law student, what you're looking for? I caught him on the hop, but there we go.
Putting me on the spot. That's all right. What are some of the attributes I think are with that a good law student should have? An interest in languages, like I was saying earlier, certainly. Logical deduction, logical reasoning is also important. And I think generally an interest in things that are going on in the world, an interest in your own society, an interest in the latest political developments and the latest developments in the community around you. Just a general intellectual curiosity, I think, is an important attribute of a good law student. Law is more than just a set of technical rules. And it's important to have an active interest in the world around you, in the community around you.
Of law and the use of constitutional law. But when asked that question by a student in the room like this that he was presenting in, his reply was this: an endless curiosity in the most mundane details of life. He said, you have to be able to find everything interesting, because that's what law ultimately is about. There are, of course, theoretical issues, jurisprudential issues, matters of high political and legal consequence, economic and legal consequence that law engages with. But at the end of the day, lawyers deal ultimately with people and with the problems they have in life. And whatever those problems may be, when they come to you, you have to be able to demonstrate, just like a doctor has to be able to demonstrate to a patient, an empathy for them, for their problems, a willingness to listen, to try to provide them with a solution to the problem in that sense. So if you just like immersing yourself and thinking about things, the detail of things, then that may be a good attributes you have as a lawyer as well. Lawyers are not superficial. Lawyers have to be able to deal with detail, whether it's a multi-billion-dollar project that you're involved in providing commercial advice to, or it's a family matter you're dealing with, or it's a criminal matter perhaps, or it's just offering advice to someone in your local community center about their rent dispute. You have to be able to engage with that individual and their problems. If you like law in its own right, the study of law in its own right, well, that may mean your good future would be as an academic, because that's, I think, a feature of many of us that are in law school. We like the study of law in itself and the opportunity to teach students about what law is and what matters in law. All right, so variety of answers that you have there, but I think it's time to wrap up the session. We will try to continue and answer some of the chat questions you've sent online. So look back and see if that is available later. But otherwise, thank you very much for joining today. There are other sessions, as I've indicated, so by all means, join those if you're interested, and hopefully they can provide you with the additional information you might like to receive about those programs. Good luck with your application process. Good luck more fully, of course, with your examination and assessment process this coming year. We hope that you do have an interest in law school after the talk today, that you do apply, and that we will see some of you in law school in this lecture theatre as students undertaking your first lecture in September next year. Thank you for attending. Have a good day.
Recording stopped.